Good morning, friends. Let's begin with a prayer and then we'll jump into our piece of music for today. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Guru Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, our friend Swami Kriyananda, we bow humbly before all of you. Bless us today. Help us to open our hearts to your wonderment, to your appreciation, to your beauty everywhere. Help us to see your smile on every face. Help us to feel your presence in all nature and within ourselves. Om. Peace. Amen. So before I begin, I'd just like to share something with you that happened a few weeks ago, which is someone who's been watching these recordings approached me and said how much they'd been enjoying them, which I'm very, very happy to hear. But then they also asked if they could make a request. And I said, of course. But I was then surprised to discover what they actually meant by that was if they could tell me a thing that they're struggling with in their life, or an emotional quality, or something that they'd like to overcome, and if I could suggest one of Swami's pieces of music as an antidote to that, which is just absolutely thrilling. And of course the answer is yes. So if you would like to submit something for, me to try and pick a song to do in one of these broadcasts, please shoot me an email. I would be delighted to interface with you in that way, and it would be a fun, creative thing for me to get to do as well. Because we've got 190 of Swami's pieces of music with lyrics, and this is like number 14, so we've got a long way to go. So any creative way to get through this is going to make it more fun, a little more interesting. But today's piece is one from the banks of my own experience, because Swami talked about how this music was an antidote for wrong living, that it would teach us to go from negative attitudes, attributes, emotional experiences, and through this music it would teach our heart to live in a better, higher way. And like many things that I read or hear or am taught on this spiritual path, I always want to try and taste it for myself, because it's one thing to read it or to hear it, but it's another thing to experience it. And that experience will become the bedrock of our own faith. And because Swamiji's music is, well, it's become quite central to my life and to my discipleship, really, I've wanted to test it out, so to speak, in the cold light of day of my own life and of my own struggles, to let's really see if it works. And at any rate, at one point in my life, I was struggling with this constant population of unkind thoughts in my mind, which is terribly uncomfortable. And as Swami writes, he says, when you hold unkind thoughts for other people, the person who suffers most is yourself, because you are the origin of that state of consciousness, of unkindness or of criticism or whatever it may be. But that he also then says, when you are kind, you are the one who benefit the most, because you then are the origin of kindness and of sweetness and of the vibration that, of course, you'd want to live in more. So at any rate, here I was finding myself the victim of critical thinking and of unkind thoughts, to the point where it was a little out of my ability to control and rein in. And I would try and justify and try and talk myself into being a little bit more compassionate or understanding, but it just wasn't working. So I turned to Swami's music, and he writes that this song that we're about to sing is the antidote to unkind thoughts. And as soon as I read that, I thought, that's the song for me. And I just started listening to Swami sing this song as often as I could. Not once a day, but every time I was in the car, I would play it on loop. I would play it any opportunity I had. When I was working, I'd play it in the background and just allow its melody to move through me, and I would sing with it as much as I could. And it's a lovely piece of music and it's a lot of fun to sing. And over that course of time, I began to experience how in fact it did change my consciousness and did help me overcome that uncomfortable experience of fostering unkindness in my own heart. So the song is Have You Seen Sorrento? So with that introduction, let's sing it together and let's try to perceive its message and its vibration, and also wonder at why this song might be the antidote for unkind thoughts, because perhaps it's not immediately self-evident. It wasn't for me. I've roamed the far hills and learned many skills. I've wandered on many a shore, though often I'd thought I'd gained what I sought. A voice always said, there's more. Go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. The reaches of space like one special place. It's there that my heart did soar. Have you seen Sorrento? Roamed her emerald hills, breathed her morning magic, flowers and bounding rills. Beauty's spring is gladness, shaming mortal skills. Have you seen Sorrento? Gazed on Naples Bay, sailed upon the blue sea, heard the wavelets play. Tell her if you go there, I'll return someday. I've roamed the far hills and learned many skills. I've wandered on many a shore, though often I'd thought I'd gained what I sought. A voice always said, there's more. Go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. The reaches of space like one special place. It's there that my heart did soar. Have you seen Sorrento? Roamed her emerald hills, breathed her morning magic, flowers and bounding rills. Beauty's spring is gladness, shaming mortal skills. Have you seen Sorrento? Gazed on Naples Bay, sailed upon the blue sea, its play. Tell her if you go there, I'll return someday. Have you seen Sorrento? Have you seen Sorrento? And let's pause for a moment and just feel for the after effect of this song. What has it done to your heart, to your vibration, to your consciousness? How has it changed the way you might look at life? And let's wonder for a moment what it would be like not just to live in the vibration of this song, but what would it be like for this song to be the natural expression of your heart's awareness? Wouldn't that be a wonderful place to live in? Isn't that a delightful piece of music? There's so much going on that I enjoy and that I love about this song. It's such a delight to get to share it together. But on the surface, like I said, might be a little bit hidden as to why this is the antidote to unkind thoughts. And I don't know what your impressions are, but I'll just share mine. That what this song strikes me with in relationship to this is just a love letter to the beauty of someplace on earth, Sorrento. And he's talking about all the wonderful things that he sees there. And this is a song of deep appreciation and wonderment and gratitude even. And isn't that the exact opposite to unkind or critical thinking? That if you're in a state of consciousness of being absorbed in appreciating something, how can you think unkindly about it? And so similarly too, if you are simply living in this state of consciousness of appreciation, you might even be able to recognize that something is not perfect, but it won't bother you. It won't necessarily dominate your consciousness. You'll just simply be aware that, like, the front porch needs to be swept. That's all. It doesn't hold any greater context in your heart. And this song has some really fun elements that can allow us to go more deeply into its feeling. Because really, to me, the magic of this song comes in just singing it and experiencing it. And I encourage you to try singing it this week and listening to it. And what we'll do now for the next few minutes is try and get into how we can learn to appreciate it a little bit more deeply. And one thing that we see right out of the gate is this song, very uncommonly for Swami's music, actually has what's called a key change. That we start the song in a particular mode. We start in the key of C minor, which is sort of searching or yearning and like a little bit has a underpinning tinge of sorrow in it. And the first parts of that first introductory part of the song is saying, I've roamed the far hills, I've learned many skills, and wandered on many a shore. Though often I'd thought I'd gained what I sought, a voice always said there's more. And that C minor key really helps us experience the yearning of that desire for more. That desire that not just the desire, but the true recognition, there must be more. And then he goes and he says, go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. What beautiful poetry. I just sing these lines over and over. They're so magnificent. And the soaring melody, go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. But what's interesting is even though they're magnificent and even though the melody is soaring here, there's still that tinge of sorrow. Can you hear it? The sense of yearning that we could go and we could do great things, and yet still my heart hasn't found what it's looking for. And he says that the reaches of space lack one special place. It's there that my heart did soar. And so what's beautiful is if the song only stayed in this key of C minor, the tone, the experience we would have is one of like a traveler of the universe who had experienced once beauty, who had once experienced love, but who nevermore could rest there. If we kept in that C minor key, it would leave us with this sense of sorrow and displacement. But we have a key change. And it's so simple and it's so elegant and it does so much so quickly. Because then we shift into C major, which is a very bright, very sort of key of great joyful affirmation. And the very next words are, have you seen? And what's actually really brilliant from a musical perspective is those first three notes still haven't, from our ear, defined that we're in a new key yet, but the next one does. He goes, have you seen Sorrento? And on that rising note of Sorrento, we're in a major key now. And we can feel the energy rise. Instead of having this tug of yearning underneath it, it's this joyful affirmation of potential and of a rising current of energy within us. Have you seen Sorrento? And now this traveler of the universe isn't bemoaning the fact that he can't be there, but he's telling you of his beautiful home. And at the end of the song, he says, tell her if you go there, I'll return someday. And so this isn't a song of sorrow, but this is a love letter to the place that we love most. And, we could easily say that really, like on a deeper level, this is talking about living in the presence of God. And this is a love letter to living in the awareness of God in all things, which Sorrento just perhaps brings us a little bit closer to. But so then he goes on. So now we're talking about Sorrento, and he says, have you seen Sorrento? Roamed her emerald hills? And again, just chew on the poetry, appreciate that. Imagine the hills sparkling with that green light, like an emerald. Breathed her morning magic. Flowers and bounding rills. And if I remember correctly, I think a rill is a small little streamlet. And just what a beautiful picture he's painting here. He's painting with words like an artist would paint with acrylics or with oil and canvas. Roamed her emerald hills, breathed her morning magic. What would it be like? Can you smell what Sorrento must smell like in the morning? All the flowers and the bounding rills. It's just magnificent use of words. And then one of my favorite lines, he says, beauty's spring is gladness, shaming mortal skill. That beauty's spring is gladness, meaning the zenith of all beauty is gladness itself, which puts to shame all mortal skill, which puts to shame anything that we could ever create with our own hands, because that gladness is the consciousness of God's joy within us. Gladness. Isn't that wonderful? Beauty's spring is gladness, shaming mortal skills. And once again, how could you be unkind? How could you foster unkindness in your heart when you are overwhelmed with gladness? They're so antithetical to one another. And that's why this song is the antidote to that unkind tendency in us. Then he goes on, the second verse of his love letter to Sorrento. Have you seen Sorrento? Gazed on Naples Bay, sailed upon the blue sea, heard the wavelets play? And again, how many times have we heard the ocean lapping against the shore? And how many times have we thought that it sounded like the wavelets playing? Such a sweet reminder that everything can be beautiful if we perceive it in the right way. And then he says, tell her if you go there, I'll return someday. And that's such a magnificent moment in the song. It's just so tender. The way he combines those lyrics with the melody is so heart-opening. Tell her if you go there, I'll return someday. And then the end of the song is also so very sweet and so interesting, and tells and gives us a great key to understanding the song. He says, "Have you seen Sorrento?" Which is again this affirmation of rising hope. And then we modulate briefly back to that C minor when he says, "Have you seen Sorrento?" And here it's really an important inflection point of the whole song, because we could do, "Have you seen Sorrento?" And it would be this grief, this yearning, where at the end that traveler of the universe would be in tears, wishing that he could be back there again, with this sense of heartbreak that he's not. But it doesn't end there. It goes first bright, "Have you seen Sorrento? Have you seen Sorrento?" And it resolves upwards in that affirmation of beauty, in that affirmation of gladness, in that affirmation of all of life's joys itself. And it's brilliant. It says in 2 notes, he tells us where we can take the heart. But yet this song, like others that we've talked about, doesn't deny longing, doesn't deny separation or anything else. And that note, "Have you seen Soren?" is one of my favorites in the whole piece, because there's so much in that. There's so much feeling, but then it resolves upwards. "Have you seen Sorrento?" I think I've changed the key a little bit for my really acutely eared musicians watching this, but we still get the idea. So now that we have that in mind, let's try listening to the melody on the cello. And like we talked about in the past, and in this one, the melody has perhaps even a little bit more to whisper to us because of those key changes and because of his use of those clever musical phrases. Let's see what happens when we just listen to it and just allow the melody to work its magic on our heartstrings. So let's sit up straight, and I invite you to relax the heart. And just as my bow is about to move over the strings of this cello, allow the melody to move over the strings of your heart and see what vibration stirs within you. And now, let's try singing it again together. Combining both Swami's incredible use of language and his incredible use of melody, the language of music. I've roamed the far hills and learned many skills. I've wandered on many a shore, though often I'd thought I'd gained what I sought. A voice always said, there's more. Go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. The reaches of space lack one special place. It's there that my heart did soar. Have you seen Sorrento? Roamed her emerald hills, breathed her morning magic, flowers and bounding rills. Beauty's spring is gladness, shaming mortals' skills. Have you seen Sorrento? Gazed on Naples Bay, sailed upon the blue sea, heard the wavelets play. Tell her if you go there, I'll return someday. Have you seen Sorrento? Have you seen Sorrento? And let's close our eyes for a moment. And let's try to feel the spring of beauty in our own hearts. Gladness. Feel for any upward moving energy in the heart from this piece of music. And if you're able to, make the resolution to live more in this vibration today, more in this vibration this week, and for perhaps your entire life. And let's see too if it can't help us overcome unkindness through appreciation and through great gladness for all the gifts that we have and for all the beauty around us. So, with great gratitude, my friends, perhaps I'll see you next week.